The Norse gods are primarily divided into four groups: the Aesir, Vanir, Jötnar, and others. In a previous video, the focus was on the Aesir, the sky gods most familiar to the public, including Odin, Thor, and Loki. While the Aesir represent the gods of society, the Vanir can be seen as earth gods, deities connected to nature and humanity's relationship with it. With their strong ties to the natural world, the Vanir are gods of liminal spaces, the wilds, and the mystical, embodying practices such as the Norse magic of seer. While the Aesir reside in Asgard, the Vanir live in Vanaheim, one of the 9 worlds. Unlike the extensively documented Aesir, the Vanir are less widely known, with 3 of them, Njord, Freyr, and Freyja, being the most recognized and honored by Norse pagans today. In this video, in addition to discussing these 3 Vanir gods and goddesses, I'll also cover the famous Aesir-Vanir War, an important story in Norse mythology. So stay tuned until the end for that. Let's begin with Njord, a deity closely associated with the sea, ocean waves, and sailing. Although he has strong maritime ties, he isn't directly associated with the oceans themselves, making him an ideal example of how the Vanir embody human interaction with nature, in contrast to the Jötnar, who personify nature itself. To fully understand Njord, it's essential to recognize the critical role of sea travel for the Vikings, where ships were the fastest and most reliable means of transportation. Mariners sustained communities through fishing, whaling, and seal hunting. Sailors navigated the seas using sunstones, astronomy, and dead reckoning, a skill reliant on intimate knowledge of currents, tides, and even the subtle taste differences in water across regions. Each journey was risky, with no guarantee of safe return, yet these voyages were essential for survival. Even today, Njord offers guidance to those who live by or work on the water, in maritime trades, or whose lives depend on sea travel. Known as the Giver, he is associated with navigational tools, fish hooks, sailing items, and seashells. Beyond the sea, he represents resilience in facing difficult conditions, pressing on amid uncertainty, and securing sustenance for those in need. One of Njord's most famous stories involves the Jotun Skadi, who came to Asgard seeking justice for her father Thiazi's death at the hands of the Aesir. As compensation, she was allowed to choose a husband from among the gods in a blind contest, seeing only their feet. She chose Njord, drawn to his clean feet, a testament to his life by the water. Sadly, their marriage faced challenges. Njord was disturbed by the howling wolves and winds in her mountain hall, missing the sounds of the sea, while Skadi found life by the water unappealing. They eventually separated amicably. During the Aesir-Vanir War, Njord was among the Vanir gods exchanged with the Aesir to end their conflict and has since resided with them, living in his hall, Notun, by the water. Freyr and Freyja are twins and children of Njord. All 3 were sent to live among the Aesir as hostages after the Aesir-Vanir War, which likely contributed to their prominence and assimilation with the Aesir gods. Freyr is a god of fertility, abundance, and natural cycles, particularly tied to seasonal renewal. Associated with masculine fertility, desirability, and potency, he is often depicted in ancient statues with a prominent erect phallus symbolizing these traits. His masculinity, however, is one of nurturance and empathy rather than aggression. Known as the king of the Alfar, spirits closely linked with nature, Freyr is also revered as a bringer of peace. His wisdom is valuable when starting new ventures, working with nature, or fostering growth, and he is often honored during seasonal rites, especially at the spring and fall equinoxes. His symbols include antlers, boars, particularly his golden boar, Gullinbursti, and plant life associated with spring and autumn. 2 famous stories highlight Freyr's character, his courtship of the Jotun Gerd and his final stand at Ragnarok. Freyr becomes captivated by Gerd after seeing her from Odin's magical seat in Hlidskjalf, resolving to marry her. In his pursuit, Freyr gives up his powerful magical sword, a blade that could fight on its own, a sacrifice that ultimately leaves him defenseless at Ragnarok. During the apocalyptic battle, Freyr will be among the first to fight, facing the fiery giant Surtr on the plains of Idavol. Though he falls, armed only with an antler spear, Freyr's legacy endures. His sacrifice is not in vain, from his death emerges a new, green world, symbolizing how fertility and renewal follow destruction. Freyja, Freyr's twin sister, is one of the most celebrated Norse deities. Often compared to a Scandinavian Aphrodite for her famed beauty, she is also fiercely independent and passionate, embodying feminine power and autonomy, with deep connections to both war and sorcery. Known for having had many lovers of her choosing, Freyja lives life on her own terms. Among her cherished possessions are the Brisingamen necklace, crafted by dwarven admirers, and amber, which is said to come from her tears and is often exchanged as a gift between lovers. While Freyja is celebrated for her associations with love, beauty, and sensuality, she is equally tied to warfare. As queen of the Valkyries, the battle spirits who roam the fields of war, she has first claim over fallen warriors, riding in her chariot drawn by cats who obey her commands, while Odin takes the rest to Valhalla. Her authority in both battle and mysticism makes her an unparalleled force. Freyja is a master of seer, a form of Norse magic she first taught to Odin, often demonstrating power that could surpass his. In one story, she used her magic to trap two armies Odin wanted for Valhalla in an endless battle after he stole her Brisingamen necklace, a show of strength so profound that he never challenged her again. Freyja also owns a feathered cloak that enables her to shape-shift into hawks or falcons. Due to her strong connection to mystical practices, Freyja is often invoked for seer work by modern Norse pagans. Her wisdom is also sought by those in search of self-empowerment and autonomy, particularly women. Her symbols include cats, birds of prey, the seaworkeress staff, amber, and gold. With the introduction of these three Vanir gods and goddesses, it's time to discuss the Aesir-Vanir War, a defining conflict in Norse mythology. Beginning with initial discord and ending in harmony, this war led to the merging of these two primary groups of gods, the Aesir and the Vanir. Metaphorically, it can be seen as the integration of natural forces with human societal order. The triggering event for the war is often attributed to Gullveig, a Vanir goddess associated with gold, sorcery, and possibly greed or lust for wealth. Even her name, Gullveig, translates to gold intoxication or power of gold, combining gull, gold, with vague, intoxicating drink or power. This association with wealth suggests that she embodied the allure and corrupting influence of gold. When Gullveig visited Asgard, the realm of the Aesir gods, she practiced Norse magic, and her ties to wealth were viewed suspiciously by the Aesir, who valued physical strength and honor over sorcery and prophecy. Some believe that Gullveig could be an aspect of or another name for Freyja, known for her expertise in Norse magic, her association with gold, as seen with her famous necklace, Brisingamen, and her ability to traverse realms. In this context, Gullveig might be a persona or avatar of Freyja herself, inadvertently bringing Vanir magic to the Aesir and initiating the conflict. The Aesir grew envious and hostile toward Gullveig, attempting to kill her by burning her 3 times, but she resurrected each time. This act of aggression angered the Vanir, leading them to retaliate and set off the Aesir-Vanir War. The ensuing war was long, brutal, and devastating enough to the 9 worlds that both sides eventually realized they could not achieve victory without severe consequences. The gods on both sides recognized the futility of destroying one another and sought a truce. To establish peace, the Aesir and Vanir agreed to a truce and exchanged hostages as a gesture of goodwill and alliance. To further solidify the peace, both sides spat into a bowl, mixing their saliva. From this, they created Kvasir, a being of immense wisdom who embodied the combined knowledge of both tribes. Kvasir's story, however, is short-lived, as he is later killed by dwarves who brew his blood into a mead of poetry that grants wisdom and inspiration to those who drink it. This mead would eventually reach Odin. In the exchange of hostages, Njord and his children, Freyr and Freyja, were sent to Asgard as representatives of the Vanir. These gods became highly revered within the Aesir community. In return, the Aesir sent Honor, known for his handsome appearance, and Mimir, a wise figure, to Vanaheim. When the Aesir presented Honor to the Vanir as a capable leader, they soon noticed that he appeared wise and decisive only when Mimir was advising him. Without Mimir, Jötnar avoided making decisions, saying things like, "Let others decide," which led the Vanir to suspect they had been tricked. The Vanir interpreted this as deceit by the Aesir, believing they had received an ineffective leader. Enraged, they retaliated by beheading Mimir and sending his head back to the Aesir as a symbol of defiance. Odin, grieved by this loss, used his magic to preserve Mimir's head, allowing him to continue seeking advice from Mimir's spirit. Despite Mimir's beheading, there was no recorded retaliation from the Aesir. Instead, they honored the peace treaty. This restraint suggests that both sides were likely exhausted from their prolonged conflict and deeply motivated to maintain the newfound peace. Additionally, the Aesir's decision to accept Mimir's head without retribution may reflect Odin's values. He prized wisdom above vengeance, and Mimir's knowledge remained valuable even in death. The Aesir-Vanir War is often interpreted as an allegory for cultural integration. The peace treaty illustrates a balance of opposites in Norse cosmology, representing the need for both natural fertility, Vanir, and societal order, Aesir, to maintain the cosmos. By integrating Vanir gods like Freyr and Freyja into the Aesir pantheon, Norse myth acknowledges that even warrior societies must honor the forces of nature, fertility, and abundance to thrive. Part 3 of this series will focus on the Norse gods of the Jötnar clan, the Giants. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video.